The Path of the Hunt is known for being able to dish out massive amounts of damage to one enemy at a time, prioritizing a playstyle that focuses on taking down small groups of enemies with high amounts of HP, such as bosses and elite level monsters. That being said, beyond just gameplay, there's a lot of things that I genuinely adore about this path that makes me love the way that it was designed. So, throughout this video, I want to go over 3 different categories that highlight these elements that I appreciate about the hunt. These ones being gameplay, flavor design, and impact. As always, for more context on these categories, please feel free to check out my video on Honkai Star Rail's best designed characters, where I go more in depth and give out detailed explanations on good and bad examples. However, in short, in terms of gameplay, we have anything related to the combat system of Star Rail. That would be attacks, ultimates, skills, synergies, and even passive abilities. While on the other hand, we have flavor design, which encompasses most of the things that are not combat related. In here, we have animations, voice lines, aesthetics, and in all honesty, this category is the one that is most influenced by my own bias. So do take what I say in here with a grain of salt. Last but not least, we have impact, which would refer to the story relevance of the path itself, and this may include the impact that they have had within the Trailblaze mission, the world itself, or within like the characters of the lore, whether they be playable or not, and as a whole, how they have shaped the world of Star Rail to begin with. So, with all that out of the way, let us see why the hunt is perfectly designed. To start things off, I think it would be important for us to go over Lan, the Aeon of the hunt. After all, what is a path without its Aeon? As we know, Lan goes by many names, among these the most prominent being the Rainbow Arbiter within the Xianzhou Alliance. As an Aeon, we know that they are bound to their own path. As such, they must follow it no matter what, regardless of their own will. Not that Lan would have any reason to go against their path. After all, it is said that this Aeon was born due to their unending hatred towards Jiaoshi and their undead abominations that contaminated their homeworld. Interestingly, Lan is one of the very few Aeons which actually pays very close attention to mortals. We see that they safeguard over the Xianzhou natives by aiding them, such as giving them the powers of the Lightning Lord to General Jin Yuan and his predecessors, or even going as far as to intervene in major events and battles, such as the Third Abundance War. Heck, in that war in particular, we see the fact that the people from the Xianzhou Alliance can go as far as to send an SOS to Lan, and they will answer their call. It is said that the Xianzhou is completely blessed by this Aeon. During this war in particular, Lan fired a Locke's arrow and obliterated a Borisan fleet in a single strike and turned the tide of battle right then and there. It was such a strong strike that Yukong literally questioned what the point was for her and the other soldiers to even be in that battlefield to begin with, when all it took was just the Rainbow Arbiter to just annihilate them. They were literally just getting slaughtered senselessly before Lan arrived. Regardless though, I am getting a little bit off topic there, but I do want to say that something that I do genuinely adore about the hunt is that it showcases a story of determination and resilience. I like to look at it at least like a story of never giving in and moving forward always. Like when we look at it, Lan and their story is one of an entity that goes on in a constant pursuit of another Aeon despite how tall of an order that is. In a way, they are striving for perfection, and to a certain extent, we can see that throughout the path itself and every single character that follows the path within the game. Also, real quick, just to clarify, within the context of this video, A character following the path of the hunt is that whose in-game path is the hunt, as that is how they mention it within their Keeping Up with Stariel trailers. So, for other cases, I will specify it with other terms, such as emanator powers, or those who are guided by their beliefs in the other path, or those who are guided by the other Aeon. So, just want to make sure that that is clear. Before we move into the characters though, I want to explore the knowledge and flavor design regarding the hunt within the simulated and Divergent universe. In particular because I am a huge fan of the fact that their main gimmick revolves around crit damage, crit rate, and speed. Not to mention critical boost and buffs that advance forward your party members when certain criteria are met really stand out to make this path shine within these game modes. What I personally love about these blessings is the fact that even though they focus on damage, they feel more than anything like they reward a character for their technique and their prowess within their skills. Rather than just being a stat stick for attack, it makes it feel more that they're making the most out of the tools that they have at their disposal currently, and that they want to strive to make a perfected strike onto an opponent. Critical boost in particular is the prime example of this in my opinion, as one of its buffs allows players to transfer excess crit rate and transform it into crit damage, which is just absolutely perfect. Additionally, we can see this through the new equations brought to us by the Divergent universe, which is a game mode that once again I am very thankful that they have brought to us, because I feel like I am playing a roguelite within Stariel, and I am a huge fan of those types of games. Once again, I am getting distracted, so I apologize. But that being said, I am a huge fan of the Molten Knight equation, even though it might not be one of the strongest ones for me, because I suck at this game. I have seen other people succeed with it. Flavor-wise, it allows us to shoot literal Lux arrows at the opponents in order to destroy and obliterate them, just like Lan did during the Abundance War. And it just makes you feel so powerful, especially when you just are able to pull it off, and it's just beautiful. I adore using this equation when it works. I, once again, haven't been able to make it work at threshold 6. Other thresholds, I've been able to make it work. At previous ones, it just feels so beautiful. I love it. I'm extending this part a little bit too much. Let us move forward, because now we're going into characters. As previously stated, every single character within the game that follows the path of the hunt has a sort of goal or set expectations within themselves that are somewhat hard to achieve, but they have the determination or the drive to seek it, that they want to achieve it, and that is something that, personally speaking, I am honestly inspired by, and a lot of these character stories I find to be really interesting and that I personally adore a lot. So, with all that being said, I just want to clarify that some of these are up to my own interpretation, so do take what I say with a little bit of a grain of salt. But yeah, with that being said, let us begin with the very first character that we meet, our very first Dan Heng. When we talk about Dan Heng, I feel like one of the main things that we can attribute to him is the fact that one of the things that drives him forward within the story is the fact that he wants to become better, to strive for more, but in doing so, he's also leaving his past behind, and as such, the memory of Dan Feng as just a memory, to become someone that he can become proud of and essentially move forward into a life that he can make his own, that he can differentiate himself from that of which he was as the High Elder of the Vidyadhara. This also can be attributed to him with what he currently does within the Astral Express, as he has become the archivist of the Nameless. He currently possesses everything for the databank, and he's the one that records everything within it in order to make sure that all of their travels can actually withhold the information necessary to interact with people within the cosmos. He is proud of that databank that he works on, but beyond all of that, he is proud to be a Nameless and a member of the Astral Express. He's proud to be a Nameless, and as such, that is what drives him forward. That is what motivates him to move forward. In fact, the reason why I say this is because during the Penacony storyline, I remember vividly talking to him, and he mentions the blissful dream in which he had been trapped, which was supposed to be the thing that would keep him, it was like a dream so happy you would never want to leave. He mentions how he, Welt, Himeko, March, the Trailblazer were traveling forever. An unending journey of all the 5 of them, with people coming in and out of the Express, but it was always the 5 of them. And that is how he realized that it was all fake. But that is what he wishes for the most, an eternal journey with the Astral Express. And if that isn't something that is a motivation, I do not know what is. Moving on, we have March 7th, which is a little bit of an interesting case, all things considered, because for the most part, she has been a preservation unit, and as many of you know, I have made a video which has literally been called March 7th is Perfectly Designed, back when she was a preservation unit, and I still stand by those decisions, and I will make another video regarding her being a Hunt character when we get more information. But for the time being, with what we currently have, I do still believe that she fits this criteria, and I personally do feel like she fits these ideologies of striving for more, especially because she, like, in her character stories, there was a new chapter that was added for her where she mentions how she isn't the same March 7th that she was before. She was like at the beginning of the journey, that she was like even at the beginning of when she met the Trailblazer, which I think is really, really cool. And on top of it all, we also see it throughout her own event quest, where her true ending, so to speak, is that in which she beats Scott in a very honest and fair fight, where she has been able to use those skills that she has honestly practiced with Yunli, Yanqing, and the rest of the crew. Because you can get help from Zhao Qiu, Huo Huo, Qing Chui, Silverwolf, but at the end of the day, it is up to you to be the one to choose whether you want their help or just use what you have actually learned with March 7th. And I think that is incredibly cool for story narratives within those mini stories. Before we move on to Zushang, I just want to clarify that we will be going over Moze. It's just that he has not been released yet, so I cannot make anything too concrete with evidence, so I can only make speculations, so that will be done a little bit later down in the video. Just want to clarify that real quick. So with that being said, Zushang, personally speaking, one of my favorite characters, and a character that has carried me so goddamn hard through the very beginning of the game. The reason why this character is a Hunt character, in all honesty, has gotta be the humongous amount of expectations that have been put on her ever since she was very young. As we know, her mother has told her that she has to become an amazing Cloud Knight soldier. She's been trained since she was a kid, and it is mentioned how her mother has sparred with her since the crack of dawn, and even passed down her sword, which name I don't remember right now, but it is just this great sword that she uses, down to her. In fact, it is mentioned how her mother can wield this great sword with one hand, while Su Sheng struggles to actually wield it, so she uses it with two hands. In fact, we actually see this throughout her animations in her like overworld attacks and even just her regular attacks within the combat system. And personally speaking, that is just such a cool little detail to now know. I kind of knew about this, but now that I read it, it's just like confirmed in my mind, and I adore that so freaking much. Regardless, beyond all of these expectations, one of my favorite things is just the fact that Su Sheng finds a way to still be very whimsical and very funny, very silly of a character, and finds a way to have fun, especially since she is best friends with Guinaifen, and then, you know, we had like the whole ghost hunting squad event. Heck, her idol on 4 is just personally hilarious. And before I get even more distracted, I do like the fact that, you know, she finds ways to relax, but at the same time, there are moments that she has her own insecurities that she's able to overcome, thankfully, thanks to her being able to take breaks, mainly because of Yanqing. Because she sees Yanqing as this person who is much younger than her, but has way more like skills and a much higher understanding of swordplay than she does. But she still admires him and wants to learn and be able to improve the way that he does. So I like that sort of narrative, and she wants to improve, and that is honestly really cool. So once again, we see that moment of a character trying to move forward, and in her character story 3, she even mentions how ever since she arrived at the Xianzhou Laofu, she feels like she's becoming more mature, and it's probably from all of these interactions that she's having, not only from, you know, having silly moments with Guinaifen, but also just having a sort of reality check, seeing other Cloud Knights having a huge power level within her own sphere. Moving on to the 5-star characters of the hunt. The very first one we have is, of course, Boothill, one of my favorite characters, especially just because of the synesthesia beacon that prevents him from swearing. But as a whole, just him having a very tragic backstory makes it be a character that I'm very interested in. The whole Oswaldo Schneider storyline that has been sort of left out in the open is something that makes me very eager to know what the hell is gonna go on with that, especially now that he's teaming up with Aventurine. So there's a lot of interesting things going on there. I'm getting distracted, but you know, one of the main things that we 100% know is that his biggest motivation is the fact that he is in search of Oswaldo Schneider, and that he wants to absolutely demolish the heck out of the IPC. If he doesn't have, like, if that isn't a huge as hell driving factor and motivation, I do not know what is. He has like a massive as hell goal, and we have to respect the hell out of that. I feel like this is one of the most obvious ones that there are within this list. So yeah, like, he's just absolutely insane, and I adore him so much. I'm rooting for him all the way. Similarly to Boothill, Dr. Ratio's goal is one that is very simple to identify, but one that is incredibly hard to achieve, and that it is a tall order to tackle, because what he really desires is to become a member of the Genius Society, which, for those that know, is really goddamn hard, because in order to actually become a member of the Genius Society, you must be accepted by news themselves. It's not as if like, oh, you can ask her to run me or just like ask the members to hold a vote and get you in. No, like news needs to look at you and be like, yeah, no, I want you to be a member of my team. I recognize you as worthy to be a part of my members. Otherwise, you're not in. And the Intelligentsia Guild was formed as a sort of group of people that worship news, but they weren't accepted by them. But they still want to receive the recognition. So they're essentially like a group of rejects. And Dr. Ratio willingly admits that. As a matter of fact, one of the things that really does hurt massively is his level 80, like his max level voice line, which I'm gonna play now, but it says something along the lines of like, if by this point I haven't received like Noose's recognition, it stands to say that I never will.
If this day I have not gained the recognition of Noose, it stands to reason that I never will at any point in the future.
So yeah, that is just absolutely devastating. And also, I do have to say, Dr. Ratio's voice actor, as always, absolutely kills it with every single voice line that this man does. This is just a quick Dr. Ratio, like Jordan Paul Hero's voice line appreciation, like moment, because like I just needed to vent that, just not vent, but just like I needed to voice that. Like it's just I adore it. Anyways, moving on to Seele. This one is the most interesting one for me because I will admit that although I already had a preconceived notion as to what I was gonna say for every single character, that was not the case for Seele. I knew of her lore, I knew bits and pieces of it, but I never really looked in depth of it until today. And oh boy, am I honestly quite happy that I did. Because, as we know, she grew up in an orphanage and she grew up her entire life in the underworld. And one of the main things that I think has been the most incredible thing regarding her character is that one of her biggest aspirations growing up has been that she always wanted to see the overworld. That she wanted to grow and see what the other area was, how the people lived these more sort of luxurious lives, even if she didn't have to be the one to live in this area, right? And as she grew, one of the things that resonated massively with her was something that Natasha told her, which was that she had to be someone who needed to safeguard the dreams of others. That she needed to protect the dreams of other people. And in joining the resistance of Wildfire, she essentially accomplished that. In being a member of Wildfire, with her rebellious nature and everything, she became someone that pushed forward in achieving a change for Belobog. And I absolutely love that about her. She actually managed to drive those ambitions all the way from her childhood into her adulthood. And it is fleshed out in such a way that not only is she there for younger generations, but also for future generations. She brought people back into the overworld. She makes sure that the kids like the moles are safe, that they feel like they are doing their part. It is all just perfect for her character and for, again, the concept of the hunt, that it makes me appreciate this character so much more. And I feel like I'm actually gonna make a much deeper dive on this character within the near future, hopefully, if this motivation continues. I just wanted to say that I'm adoring this character right now. Anyways, moving on. Coming up next, we have Topaz and Numbi, Or, well, more than anything, Topaz, even though Numby is the one that does most of the damage. However, I do want to mention them because in this regard, right, Topaz has been one of my favorite characters because she she's a character that came from a planet that was essentially completely destroyed. As a matter of fact, in her character story, they mention how they are surprised that someone of this caliber could even fit a position within the IPC, because they're like, really, from like a place like this is able to join our ranks? And they're like, yeah, like she was able to ace all of these tests in macroeconomics, microeconomics. She aced everything, and then once she entered the like whatchamacallit, the corporation, she was able to rise through the ranks massively to the point that her superior was surprised. And one of my favorite things about that interaction is how she wasn't able to attend her superior's retirement party, yet she still took the time to send him a message that said, "Hey, I'm sorry for not being there, but I promise to take a day off and go see you. And I know that you like these things in particular." It was like a robo something. So I'll make sure to get you one of these while I'm in this planet, in order to, you know, give it to you as a gift. And just like the fact that Topaz has such attention to detail for other people is absolutely amazing, and that correlates to the fact that that is kind of what she seeks with why she joined the IPC. Because true, the IPC is kind of like jerks. They are there to take over the world to a certain extent. As we know, the IPC has pretty much committed a lot of war crimes, especially with the whole massive laser gun thing. I don't remember the exact terminology, but you know, they absolutely destroyed a lot of planets. But when Yelena, you know, Topaz, takes care of business, in her mind, she believes she is doing the right thing and she's trying to save people like the IPC saved her. So in that regard, she is taking it upon herself to try to help others in the best way that she believes is possible. So that way, I personally feel that is how she fits the path of the hunt. Though it feels like a stretch, I think it is the most appropriate way to see it. Also, you know, she just really adores having a lot of pets, and she doesn't care what other people think within the IPC. So hey, you know, she will take W's because she increases her work efficiency that way. So I just adore that about her. Last but certainly not least, we do have Yanqing, a character that I do personally believe encompasses the concept of the hunt the best. In particular because of the way that his character and that his kit are. And to the point that I even called him one of my favorite characters of all time. I literally had him as my number 2 in the best designed characters video that I did all the way back like a year ago. And I still stand by that decision. Yanqing is a character who literally strives to become the best. He wants to become the sword champion of the Xianzhou. And in order to become the sword champion, you literally need to be the best sword master everywhere. You need to be able to beat every single representative of all of the ships. You need to be able to outmaster everybody. And he's going for the same title that Jing Liu, one of the members of the High Cloud Quintet, once held as a proud and noble swordsperson. Additionally, the way that Yanqing's kit works, in my personal opinion, is very reminiscent of the way that the hunt works within the simulated and divergent universe, especially with like the whole like crit damage boosts to the detriment of his kit, sadly, because even though he gets a lot of crit rate and a very reasonably large amount of crit damage, it lasts for such a short amount of time that he can't really benefit as much as he probably would. Like, he does get a turn where he does massive amounts of damage. However, any other turn where he doesn't have the buffs given to him by his ultimate, he does miserable amounts of damage, sadly. Unless, you know, you properly build him and like you super invest on him. But it is very rough. Nevertheless, he's still a character who, within his own kit, he prioritizes technique over everything else, and he's able to excel whenever he is under the right conditions. And as I mentioned within my video about the best assigned character, he is a character that when everything goes right, he will perform amazingly. However, one thing goes wrong and his confidence plummets. He is still a child regardless of everything. So no matter what, this will be something that will be affecting him in one way, shape or form. He may lose in a sparring combat against the general, and that will affect his confidence, and that's perfectly fine. The main thing is that mustn't remain there with him for too long of time, otherwise then he's just gonna spiral on forever. He's able to recover, and he's been able to recover. He's been able to fight against Blade, Kafka, Dan Heng, the Trailblazer, and he's able to come back and fight again and again and again. And it's not because he's a fighting maniac, it's because he genuinely has been needing reasons in order to fight them, and because he wants to alleviate the load for General Jin Yuan. He doesn't do them out of being petty or because he wants to be like a brat. He's actually doing so because he wants to help out the Xianzhou, and I respect the hell out of him. So again, he's still one of my favorite characters in the way that he is, and I appreciate him, and I do genuinely believe that in his search for perfection, he is stressing the hell out of himself, but he's still one of the best representations of the hunt that we have within the game, and that is why I adore him so much. Hey, real quick, I want to take this moment before we actually move into talking about Moze and Feixiao with some speculation, because I want to say real quick, thank you for watching this far into the video. You have arrived at the beyond 30-minute mark, which is absolutely insane. You are a madman, but I appreciate that about you. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you, and it really does mean the world to me. I'm very thankful to each and every single one of you all. I'm very glad that I'm making once again another video on these series. I haven't done one in a bit because I didn't really know what to talk about, and at the same time I was like the ideas that I've been wanting to talk about, I didn't really know which one I wanted to do, but now I kind of got the inspiration to do this one. But yeah, real quick, I just want to say, if you enjoy this sort of content, please be sure to hit that sub button. It's free, it only takes a second, and if you ever feel like this sort of content, it's not really for you, or if you feel like I'm dropping the quality of the content, you're more than welcome to unsubscribe. I perfectly understand. I do want to improve on these sort of things, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity, for having this channel, for having all of these interactions. Let me know what other characters or what other paths y'all would want me to cover. I know that at some point I do want to cover the Elation, even though it's not like one of the playable paths, but I digress. I'm getting a little bit off topic. I'm having a lot of fun making these videos, so yeah, that being said, let's go back into the video. Alright, so going over Moze first, since he is a 4-star, and because, to be fair, I feel like we have the least amount of information on him, because as like due to the way of how he is, right? He doesn't really want to reveal much about himself to us, and he plans to keep it that way, or at least until we actually get to pull for him and then we get to actually read his character's story. As far as we know, he has been able to escape the Yaoqing's shackling prison in the past, and as well as like many other prisons, because he used to be a convict apparently. He's very skilled with dealing with shady things and taking care of business, unwanted business. But apparently he's also a gamer. So much so to the point that in one of the freaking web, like, whatchamacallit, there's like these Hoyo Lab little comics. There was one that they released that is literally just a text message group with Feixiao, Xianzhou, and Moze. And in them, they are literally playing a little mobile game. Like, I don't know, they just go like, hey, let's play 8-ball or whatever, right? And they have a play scorer, and freaking Feixiao just has like, oh, you're like 97%, Yao chose 96%, so it's like, oh, I'm beating you by 1%. Mind you, like, their scores are like 800s, and then like Moza comes and it's like, oh, I have 5,111, and he is the best player of all time. And Jiaocho literally changes the group's message to, Moza, please stop showing your prowess at minigames, which essentially kind of implies that he has done this multiple times, essentially saying that Moza takes competition a little bit too seriously, which in my opinion is so funny and so perfect. And if that is his defining trait, I think that that is just like incredibly funny. I feel like there 100% is more to him, but just having that as like an extra little thing is just so lovely and makes me adore his character that much more. Moving though on to Feixiao, one of the main things that we know is that people call her the lacking general, not because she is bad at her job, but because she is lacking on bad things. As a matter of fact, she kind of took that title in a sort of mocking tone towards Jinyuan's the dosing general. Feixiao has this sort of overworking mentality towards her because she wants to be the best general she can possibly be, and she wants to bring hope to other people. And as such, I feel like that's kind of where her ideologies of the hunt lie in. On top of that, you know, her wanting to bring in Hule in order to bring in hope to the people of the Yaoqing, which are mostly Foxians, is very much a symbolism of like her trying to be someone that is very much, whatchamacallit, like, you know, she's trying to push her own goals forward. And I respect that. I personally think that's really cool, even though it's very risky because, you know, why transport a prisoner? That leads to a lot of problems, but I digress. I do think that what she has been trying to do is really cool, even though if risky. So, all in all, I think that, I believe at least that that is where her concept of the hunt lies in. But that is just a theory, a game theory. You know what? That was a lot of characters that we had to go through. I will not deny that. That being said though, it was a lot of fun. At the same time though, despite the fact that we went over every single character, I do have to admit that I have been a huge fan, not only of like just the hunt itself, but the impact that they have had in the story, both in the followers of the hunt, like the literal followers within the story of the hunt, in the terms of the Galaxy Rangers as well as Xianzhou Alliance, but also just in the impact that these factions have had within the story. Because the Xianzhou Alliance, we know that they have done a lot of fucked up shit. And, well, the denizens of abundance have been absolutely horrifying as well. But just as a whole, it's just incredibly cool. I'm like kind of bad at words right now, but I I just enjoy how they both have their own sense of justice, right? Because the Xianzhou Alliance, although very fucked up, believe that nothing should be immortal, and they will go to any length necessary in order to be able to prevent immortality from taking over, even though they have a very insane healing factor to back them up. To be fair, that is part of their curse as a long life species now, but still, it is kind of hypocritical. At the same time, the Galaxy Rangers have become a sort of fighters of justice, which again I am a huge fan of because they kind of fight for the little guy. They want to be able to make the right thing, and as such, they will go into the most unfavorable fights in order to make sure that others are safe. And it makes me respect the hell out of Boothill. And now that we have a new Galaxy Ranger incoming, I am even more excited for him. Not to mention the fact that we kind of know a little bit about a previous one in Tiernan, which I am so upset that they're now dead. I really wanted to know more about Tiernan. Like, the artwork for him is so cool, and I love like his I love the way that he looks. I just wish we were able to actually meet him. But we did see a lot of flashbacks for him, and it was really neat. But just, I need more lore. I really hope that we get to see some sort of like backstory with young Mikhail, young Tiernan, and young Rosalina, because I really want to see more of them. It would make me so happy. But I'm getting sidetracked. Regardless, I do, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the followers of the Hunt, because no matter what, they do go to extreme lengths in order to fulfill their duties, and they will make sure that no matter what, they will accomplish what they have set out to do. In my opinion, the thing that I commend the most about them is how the Galaxy Rangers like immediately went to heed Boothill's call the moment that he used Tiernan's bullet. The moment that he called for assistance, every single Galaxy Ranger that had gone MIA, because yes, every single Galaxy Ranger had apparently disappeared, decided to come out of hiding in order to support their brother in arms. Similarly, the Jade Abacus from the Xianzhou Alliance does the same, and the fact that they have this sort of brotherly alliance that is kind of reminiscent as well of Lan, you know, with the Aeon themselves also coming in no matter what if the Xianzhou Alliance requests an SOS, is one of my favorite things about this. And I just find it to be so cool, and it makes me so goddamn happy. So yeah, that has been my video on why I believe the Hunt has been perfectly designed. I know that there have been parts that I have been a little bit scrambled because I kind of decided to go well, like in those parts without a script more than anything towards the end. I am not gonna lie, but at the same time, I did kind of want to voice these things from the heart rather than just like, again, scripting everything, because at that point it just felt a bit too rigid and too just like monotone, and I don't like it when my voice goes too monotone because then it becomes boring, and then I don't like it, and then I feel like I'm just going, oh, and then this is how this lore is, and I am so happy that this, you know, like it's not my style. And I want to be able to show you that I genuinely love these things and that I'm going insane over the fact that like there are such tiny little details that make these characters pop off and come to life, and just I adore it a lot. And I might toss the idea of scripts a little, not completely, but I might make them into more of spark notes in the near future. I can read them with more emotion because I have been doing so through the very beginning of this video, but at the same time I feel like I bring out the biggest amount of emotion when I just have little like bullet points and I just go through them. To be fair, I do have to organize them in order to make sure that I go piece by piece and I don't mumbo jumbo, scramble everything and ruin my own pacing. That is like the main part and the main issue that I was having near the end. Regardless, though, again, these videos are so much fun to make, and I adore making these deep dives on not only the characters but, you know, the Aeons. In the future I do want to do some for the planets themselves. Heck, maybe we might even do one for like factions. I'm not even sure, but I'm gonna look into it. Again, game design has been one of my passions, so being able to overanalyze the hell out of them in this game has made me so happy. So thank you for listening to me yap for an absurdly long amount of time. It really means a lot to me. So with all that being said and done, I'm not gonna hold too much more of your time, other than to say, hey, one more time real quick, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. It's free, it only takes a second. We are on our way to 3,000 subscribers, and currently in the month of September, it'll be 7 months since I took this screenshot when I had 200 subscribers. This will mean that we have reached 14 times the amount of what I had literally 7 months ago. That is absolutely insane. You all have absolutely broken my mind, and I want to take this moment to say thank you all, to appreciate each and every single one of you. And I know that I do essentially kind of do a long spiel every single video about that, but like genuinely I appreciate you all, and it makes me so goddamn happy that you're here. It makes me glad that I get to have this community with you guys where we talk about random shenanigans, and it's a lot of fun for me. And I never expected this YouTube channel to reach to this point. I just like, I don't know, I just want to say I am glad, I'm thankful. You all have been so amazing. So yeah, I hope you'll have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time zone applies to you all, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye.